Hey everybody, how y'all are? Uh, Wait a minute. Hey everybody, how y'all are? I gotta get me out of studio mode here and mute myself. So I'm muted. Okay, there we go. Well, another day. I'd say another nickel, but I think it's costing me more than that, and I'm I'm not getting paid for it. But that's all right. This is kind of fun. I gotta babble, otherwise my machine loses its uh, my earphones shut themselves off to save power unless there's something going through it. So today we've got to do some tinking. Uh, let's go ahead and review. Well, let's do a little review, I guess. Swap the camera around over here. All right. Oh, that's a nice view of nothing. Okay, so what have we done? Okay. We have, or I have, well, we have, because I've had moral support. We cut this thing up Sunday. Yesterday we put it together, and we got it still upside down. There's the base, or that's actually the top. And we put the base in up here, and in the base we have a skirt that we put together with pocket holes, and we put little footsies on it. And I'm going to have to deploy. Boy, I'm gonna have all kinds of stuff laying around over here. I gotta get my my air compressor going. I probably should have got all this stuff ready before I started streaming, huh? But then it wouldn't be fun. And you wouldn't have a general, actual, honest idea as to what the heck goes on here at Two Dogs Barking Workshop for hours at a time. So I'm going to run around here. And what I'm going to do, if I remember where the heck we put them, I have got these little, it's in my project stuff. I have these little pads which will kind of help protect. I'm not worried about protecting a concrete floor as much as I am worried about protecting the bottom of the Hi Iggy, thanks for the host. I really appreciate it. I'm hollering over here and it's probably not that loud. I gotta put some Earl in this bad boy. I am going to put some pads on the bottom of this to kind of help protect the wood when I'm sliding around on the concrete. They're self-stick. This self-sticking stuff never works. I'm gonna knock them in, and then I'm gonna have to do some design work. Bad part is that after I moved everything, finding any of these pads and stuff is kind of like going to be a challenge. So I have no idea where I threw them. I may have to put that on hold until I get my shop back into shape. Boy, that thing's running long. Hope you're not using ear pads. Earphones, ear pads, ear something. Eerie. Eerie, Eerie. I did have this, well, I had a lot of this stuff sort of kind of organized before all this stuff went together. And, oh, silence is golden. Let's see. I have a container here that I keep all my project stuff, which is kind of hidden in the back. But it's also got tons of other stuff kind of piled up on it now. For my boxes, I use a lot of hinges. And I buy those kind of regularly whenever I see them on sale. Actually, it's more so running across them because it gets to the point that they're hard to find. They get hard to find. And they're not in this box. Well, I guess we're going to skip that part until I run across them. That's kind of weird, because I remember putting them in. I didn't have that many left. It's a little small package, and I could have shoved it anywhere. Might have used them for the last. Did I use them on the last project? Let me think. I have slept since then. Yeah, I probably used them since then. Okay, that's all right. I have no idea. I'm just starting here. We are to the point that I'm going to have to figure out a way to do some drawers and to make some drawers. And that's going to be my next thing. Right now I'm putting a little oil in my Bradley gun. What size are these? And I'm going to get some nails. These are inchers. These are inch and a quarters. Inch and a quarters will work. And I'm trying to I'm kind of getting set up. This is where it gets kind of hairy, because we're going to do. There's all kinds of stuff that has to go on, and there's 3 or 4 different ways of fastening them, and all this kind of stuff. So, there we go. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Maybe. Yep. I'm oiling my brad nailer. You got to put, every morning when you start, if you got pneumatic tools, you use a little bit of oil, a pneumatic tool oil in them to help lubricate them and keep them running. And I use Marvel's Magic Mystery Oil. I have been using them for years, and it makes a big difference. And I call them Bradleys because they're brad nails. And, you know, be a little formal to them. So what I want to do, maybe, yeah, oh yeah, I don't know why they call it that, but it is, it's kind of some kind of mysterious stuff. I don't know. What I'm going to do, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got some 1/2-inch lumber. If it doesn't rain, I'll be able to get some 1/2-inch plywood out of there. But I have these 1x4 pieces that they're cut pretty square. They're a little warped. Oh, you can't see that, can you? So I guess you need to see me bopping around here. So let's go ahead and put everything up. Light the whole place up. Oh, look at that. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I need to make a frame that's going to hold And of course I got the longest one. It's going to hold these drawers. And these drawers are going to be that high, and they're going to have the thickness of a 1/2 inch piece of plywood on it. So I'm going to make a spacer board so that I can build this thing up relatively quickly. Well, okay. Everything is relative. So I look around in my scrap pile to see if I have any 1/2 inch cutoffs. I don't see any. I've been using a lot of my cutoffs for different kinds of things, and I got some 3/4 inch. This is why you save stuff. If nothing else, you end up using them for spacers and things like that. I think this is 1/2 inch. See, 1/2 inch is kind of funny. It's 11. I forget now. I always used to remember all those numbers, and every time I have to think about it, I don't. It's actually shy of a 1/2 inch. Okay, this is it. So what we're going to do is I want to make 2 drawers to go on each side, and the frame, a door frame or a drawer frame consists of basically 3 parts: the guide, the slide, the guide, and the kicker. They've got other names for it, but the slide, when we put this in here, and I won't cut it down, is going to has to be that tall. I'm working from the bottom up, of course, because I'm going to make my my drawer is going to be that wide with a piece of 1/2 inch plywood on the bottom. And then you need just a hair more than that for swelling and stuff like that to make it move. And I have found that 2 of these little plastic bad boys here like that makes it perfect. So what I will do is I have got some sticks over there, and I will pop and I will run a stick across here and a stick across here. We will then cut a piece of plywood this height, find about center, put a center in there, and then put a piece across it. The other piece that'll have to be done is a piece of wood across the inside here, so that this way when it comes out it won't canter from side to side. After I got that done, then I will have my actual dimensions, and I can build the drawers. Once I build the drawers, I'll have everything done except for some of the framing that I want to build. For to hold the drill drivers and stuff in it, because I want to hang them, I think. And then I'm going to make... Nah. Slides are too expensive. It's cheaper to do this. One thing, it's cheaper to do this, and 2, I like to keep it that way. It just what I can say, you know what, I built that cabinet. And I wasn't kidding, I built that whole cabinet. The nice part about this cabinet is the fact that I don't really have to worry about how long my pieces are or how far down they go, because I'm not putting other drawers in there. And usually that width is kind of like wasted space. I do have at my disposal, I have some cutoffs that I have made that were leftovers from another project. Actually, they were left over when I was sizing up my the lumber for the clamp stand. And they will be just perfect for that. For making the slides. The thing about it is, I'll have to cut them down a little bit. So we need to get a measurement. And I'm going to cut a piece here to use as a jig. And I might as well cut it pretty close to what I'm going to do for my dimensions. A measurement? Yeah, kind of. I should know this measurement by heart. It's 18 inches all the way forward. I could get fancy and come back 3/4 of an inch with all that stuff and then put a face on it. But I'm not worried about pretty. So I'm going to cut this one a full 18 inches. And this looks, wow, that looks pretty square. So I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to cut it 18 inches. My drawers will probably end up being a little less than that, I'm pretty sure. Then again, maybe not. 18 inches is actually a good size. Because once you get all the lumber and everything in it, it ends up being about 16. Okay. So here we go. More noise. If it wasn't for noise, we wouldn't have anything to go. I hope the air compressor doesn't decide to kick on. So then I'll be running outside. I don't know how long I'm going to be on here today because they're threatening some nasty storms. And I can work in bad weather. But my little puppies aren't happy with when I do that. And one of them kind of panics and gets a little destructive, so we have to, I gotta kind of be nice with that. Probably a nice shot of my head. Yeah. Here we go. I changed my bot. To that female. And, yeah, I don't know about her. I have a little trouble hearing her. So we're going to stack all that up. I'm going to cut a couple 18-inch pieces. And that will give us our slides. Yeah, I think so. I think she's just talking a little too fast. Or maybe I've gotten to the point that I'm ignoring female voices. I have trouble with female voices with hearing because it's like, unless it's a lower voice, a higher pitch voice, I have a little trouble hearing. Because sometimes it mixes in with some tinnitus and selective hearing. Yeah, Jan would really love me if I said that. Oh, looky! Houston, we blew a fuse. Well, I know that it's a side fuse over here. That's interesting. This air compressor draws a lot of power when it first fires up. There we go. So I've turned the air compressor back on when I start snapping. I'm using, everything's running off of one plug. And I did invest in some real nice plug units. This way I can make sure that I don't have to go running outside every time I blow a fuse. And it's definitely a safety thing. And it's almost like it's working almost like it's got two circuits running into that plug. And each one of the plugs is on a different breaker. Because I actually have popped breakers outside, and it's only been half of that outlet. Okay. See, this is what happens when you have tons of tools. Get this over here. Turn the air compressor back on. Oh yeah. That was smart. Leave the vacuum cleaner running when I go to fire up the air compressor. That's what blew it in the first place. I think that the circuit breaker on this thing might be getting weak. I might have to replace it. Maybe not. We will see. I turned it on, it didn't crank. I wonder if I killed my air compressor. I have sunshine. Now brad nails, Bradley to be more formal, is oh, it does work. They hold okay, but with movement and all that kind of stuff, they eventually work their way out. So a little bit of glue helps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a very small, well, it's probably not very small, strip of glue here. I'm going to set this on here. See how bad my measurements were. Wow. I did something right. And then we'll formally snap a couple of Bradleys in. Okay, 3 of them. I want to show you something. And you probably won't see. I hope I can get it in there. Oh yeah. Okay, let me bring that in so you can see it. This is an educational kind of thing. Let me work my zoom here. See if we can get it in. I don't know how far it's going to go. Okay. What we are looking at is a Bradley. It was shot in down here, straight. There's a knot or a hard spot or something that was in there, and it took it and it deflected it up. Can you see that? Yeah. It deflected it up, and out of the way. So what I'm going to pull that out. And but that's a safety concern, because if, for example, let's say I was holding this like this against there, that nail would have been in my thumb. Now, that's one of the big reasons why when you're using, these things will drive, and they just keep driving. They don't stop. And as you can see here, that bad boy driven in pretty good on both ends. Look at this. Man. Oh, well. So, you have to be careful when you, and keep your hands away. Oops. Keep your hands away from the work that you're shooting this in. Both sides. You know, the back side and the front side. And around the outside. It's best to use clamps, because you don't know what's inside the wood. There's a little bit of hard spot or something like that, and the next thing you know, it's arrivederci-Roma. Let's see if I can do it now without it driving funny. Okay, there we go. It drove in straight that time. Now, let me bring it back out to normal reality here. Do I want to save my changes? No. Okay. So that's one of the things about that you have to be really concerned about when it comes to safety. Angle my camera up a little bit. We'll work on the back one. A lot of times clamping is the best way to go. And I'll tell you what, I have had my share of being kissed by a nail gun. Nice tight fit. Hopefully that'll fit pretty good. If it is a little too tight once I get the drawers in, that's not really a problem. It's just taking sand a little bit off the top, and they will fit. But there are a lot of things that you have to think about, I guess. Those mechanical, the metal door slides, they're kind of interesting. There's all different kinds, and I don't know, sometimes I think it's harder to decide, to figure out which is the right one to have. Another thing that I'm not going to do is I might, but I doubt it. I'm not going to put stops in these, because I want them so that I can pull them out and have them like a tray. Like have them so that they're a tray, so I can hold them and set them down and look in them and do whatever I want, digging and all that. Let's kind of move this camera around a little bit. Oh, look at that. There's my mug. Maybe we can see what we're doing a little bit better. Excuse me. This weather has got my sinuses going crazy. I'm coughing and hacking and yakking and everything else like that. Let me put my hand up there. Are we there? Yeah, hi. Let's raise it a little bit, maybe. There we go. They make, these are called I buy my glue by the gallon, because when I'm on a roll, I go through a lot of it. And I have found I like those little glue bots. I've got the tips are replaceable. I got some of them in the house I got to bring out here. And the cap, everything's replaceable on it, and they're not that expensive. So if the glue finally does harden up in there, See, there's another one. There must be something in there. Maybe it's the way I'm holding it too. I've got sunshine. Ugh. Yeah, this thing's in so deep. This may be me doing this because this is a new gun. And I'm not 100% comfortable where I'm putting it. See now, it's come out there and that's where it went in. Hopefully when I pull it, it'll bend around and won't tear out. There we go. I got 3 of them in there. It ain't gonna go nowhere. Always put your screws and stuff you're gonna throw away in a sharps container. Yeah, it's got to be something running through the board because it both of them were on that board. Where's my smacker? I'll be right back. I got a nail sticking out. I rearranged. I actually thought about and moved electrical around and all that so that I can limit the amount of cords that are laying around on the floor so I'm not tripping on them. So now I don't know. I don't know if I made that much of a difference anyway because I've got streaming cords and I got hoses and everything else. But yeah, I guess so. I dumped about 50% of the stuff laying around that I'm stepping around. So it makes a difference. It is making a difference. Bring this down, hold it where it's supposed to be. Oh, there's another one. And it's right in that same area. Up. Oh, I'm doing good here. I got 2 of them this time. So it is. It's got to be something in the board. A tough spot in the board, maybe. And it's running it through. I don't think it's a knot because I didn't see a knot in it, but it is following the grain. The grain's kind of working on an angle like this, and I guess it's hitting a hard spot in one of the lines of the grain, and it's shooting up. Which, it's okay. I just have to get stuff out of here. And the interesting thing is this, I was using a Harbor Freight pin gun before. That's not a pin gun, it's an 18 gauge. This one's just a nailer. The Harbor Freight one that I had was a nailer and a stapler. But it wouldn't drive like this when it was new. And it got to the point just recently that it wouldn't drive one of these in at all. This one, with the same amount of air, I may have to break this one off. This one with the same amount of air, didn't adjust the air. I had to adjust it down. Here we go. I had it adjusted down so that it would not drive through. Where's that? Okay, so we got our slides down, the end slides. If I was going to do just one big drawer, which I thought about doing, this and then a couple boards inside here to keep them from sliding around would be perfect. But I'm not doing that. I'm going to split it, so I have to make a centerpiece. Now the centerpiece needs to be the same height. But I don't really think I want to use a piece of that fur and then build up on it. Instead, I will dig out somewheres. Hopefully this is it. Nope, that's 14. I will dig out a piece of plywood. Since I've got so many cutoffs, some of them are long enough, some of them aren't. Dig around here for long enough to find one. Hey, you know what? No. I wonder if this is wide enough. I don't think so. This is 2.5. I think that's almost 4. Okay. My technical measurement. It's got to be that tall. This is good for holding stuff too. It's got to be that tall. More or less. If it's a little bit low, a little bit more than that, that's okay. That doesn't even come close. Alright. The search continues. It's got to be 18 inches long. I don't know how long it's got to be. And I got an 18-inch piece here I can cut a hunk out of. I think this is 18. I think, therefore, it is. I have got in the works and the plans, I've got a bunch of drawers to build, so this is kind of practice. Eventually I'm going to make some fancy drawers, but I'm not going to do that for a while. Now, I believe in non-measurement. So we got this here, this here. We use this on this side because it defeats the purpose of putting on the other side because it probably the teeth would poke through. And we set it up. It's not deflecting. Everything's good. Right there. Close enough. It's going to be a little tight, so it might be a little on it. Might be a little tight. That'll work. Now I'm going to cut an 18-inch piece of plywood. We're going to build a cross piece for it. And we're going to mount it about center, give or take. So, okay, first thing is to cut a piece off. I gotta find one decent corner. Hey, this has got a nice corner on it. And we give this booger a cut. This is something that my dad taught me. Let me switch cams so I can show you. There we go. This is something that my dad taught me. Get in the habit, when you're running and your hand has to be in the blade area, get in the habit of keeping as many fingers as you can on the rip fence. If that means moving goodies out of the way and everything like that, that's fine. Because that way it's ensuring that your fingers are against that rip fence as the farthest away you possibly can be when you're running it through. And a lot of the newer saws, this thing is red. If your hand gets anywhere near that red area through normal operation, you go to a stick. Keep your hand out of here. As a matter of fact, you're better off even making that area a little bit wider, just for safety aspects. Because all you got to be when you're in here, all you got to do is just flex a little bit, and you're going to lose a knuckle. And I'll tell you what, them saw blades hurt. Even if it's just a scratch. I've cut myself more on those saw blades when I was doing hey, you know what? That's just the right side to do my cross piece. So let's go ahead and cut another one. I have cut my knuckles just putting blades in and out. Especially since, new ones or clean blades are really, they're sharpest. I gotta get rid of that lady. Hi, Yak. Yeah, a lot of it depends on who makes them, I think. I don't know. I know that Craftsman's used to be red. My dad's was red, and that's going back. His was an 8-inch, and gee, that was probably built in the late 50s. I'm born 58, so yeah, in the late 50s. So it was a. Here we go. It was a pretty good. Good morning, Yak, by the way. So his was red, except his was so old and used it so much he wore all the paint off of it. I gotta change this. This woman I can't hear. What did you say last night? What did you say last night, Yak? No, he never said that. Let me go back to the guy. Let's go to settings. Let's save it. I was using Zero. The lady talking, and for some reason I have a little trouble hearing her. There it is. His voice, I think the range of his voice is better for me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on. There it is. Okay. Okay, so, yeah, we're cutting here. Yeah, okay, yeah. Hey, Kilted, thanks. I would do that. I don't have any blanks. Except my mind. Okay, so let's do this over here. I want to do a couple of things. First things first is I gotta rearrange my drilling again. I am going to go and I'm going to put one on the end. No, I'll just put it about here. I'll put a couple of 1, 2. Well, let's put one. Let's put 2 here. And I'm going to put a couple in on this side. I'm going to kind of like toenail it. And I'm going to run in some pocket holes. And that'll be pocket hole down. And then we'll set this on here like that. That's how it's going to be. And what that does, that serves 2 purposes. That gives me my piece to keep from popping back and forth. And this will give me my slide. My slide and my guide. My slide and my guide. Alright. How's that? It's not. There it is, right there. Um, 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 um. Grows on trees. I want to get this. I'll have to get this in there before I can put the top piece on. Boy, I hope I don't run out of juice, because I haven't plugged in my batteries in a while. I've got a 6-gang. I have a battery charger that does 6 of them at a time. And I'll tell you what, there are times I go through all 6 of those batteries at one pop. It'd be nice if I got it set up so it's set flat. Okay. Now, I showed this before. You saw how clean that was? Put it in so it's kind of level. Like that. Let me kill this. I'm going to show you something. Look how much of a difference that vacuum cleaner makes. The other thing it does is it helps to keep, it kicks the vacuum up, so it helps to hold this to the plate. And it also, when you're doing it without a vacuum cleaner, you can't do it in one pass because the chips bind everything. So going this route runs it cleaner and saves a little time. Okay, it'd be like milliseconds, but on projects, I've done projects that I've done like 350, 400 holes. That's a lot of time. There. Alright, here's another little cheat. If you ever look at it, you'll see that there is a center line. Most pieces of plywood have a center line, so you don't have to measure it. You just kind of eyeball and center that center piece there, and you got it centered in your work. Unless it's a warp piece. Yeah. That's a lot of holes. I actually went through a whole battery just drilling. And those batteries last a long time. Heck, I get 2-3 days on them usually at a crack, you know, from the little itty bitty stuff. Alright, I'm going to use my cheat machine. I cheat. But that's 24 inches. I knew that. So 12 inches is center, which is center. I'm trying not to make all those funny little 16ths and 32nds and 935s. Ow. And then we go there. And I'm going to mark it. I'm going to reach about there. It's just nobody's going to see that. I'm going to draw a line. Liner! I made this like 250 million years ago when I was a kid. And I haven't checked in the past since it's been kicked around and everything. But it was square. That's the first time I ever worked with aluminum. I feel the sunshine. Running pocket holes is one of the few things. See, now I'm going to take that. I'm going to kind of guess about center. I'm going to center it right there. But one of the things about it is running pocket holes. You want to make sure you got your best connection. So I like to make sure that they're clamped. Where they need to be. That still slips around, especially when you're using these Harbor Freight clamps. Most of the time for glue ups and everything like that, I prefer to use the Bessey style, well, the F style screw clamp. But for this kind of stuff, the little squeezy guys work pretty good too. Okay, that should be down center. We should be in the center. Yeah, so do you air dry that stuff, don't you, Jack? You don't have a kiln, do you? 1.5 inches, I need 1.25 inches. I don't know how many of these I need. A couple million of them, probably. Now that is a non-impact. The drill bit, or the driver bit that I put on there, took out of there, is a non-impact driver bit that I just took off of it, and I just happened to see it laying around, and it looked like brand new, and it's already beat up. Those impact style driver bits are the way to go. Alright, so now I want to spend 2 hours looking for a stupid screw that I dropped. No, I'm not. Because I'll find it the minute that I grab one. And I did. I keep forgetting that I have a fatter head than I normally do with these earmuffs on. You wouldn't believe how many times I beat myself silly with those earmuffs. I got sunshine. Oiling them. Oiling them does? I wonder what would happen if you use salt. Because salt usually when you start talking about like meat, stuff like that, salt will draw the moisture out of them. I wonder if that would work. Hey, Pete! What's happening? How are you? Good morning, good morning. I think it's still morning. Boiling them? Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. Oh. You know, yeah, when you're doing volume like that, rapid drying would be a. You know, you don't want that stuff to be splitting. Uh, okay. Now we'll mark this one in half. I'm always bouncing around or bouncing off the floors or something. Or being lost. Hey, where'd I leave this? Oh, where'd I leave? Oh, where's that? Okay. So now, now, alright. So this is just shy of 4. Just shy of 4. That's going to make it just shy of 2. Hey, somebody stole all my pencils. I'm starting to sound like my dad. I would think that the soap would be like a pain in the butt when you're staining, especially if you leave it soaking for any length of time. I can see salt. I always thought about salt. All right. And alcohol? Yeah, I can see alcohol doing it. But I bet there's too many people that would rather drink it than soak it. You know what I mean? In my luck, soak this stuff with alcohol and sell it or give it to somebody. And they're going to smell it and go, hey. Next thing you know, people be eating lumber. I've got sunshine. See, I cheat a lot. I admit it. And it's easier for me to see center if I got something that's kind of visual. And that's how they call it. I had a little block of wood. Yeah, this won't work. And so we're going to do something. That's true. Yeah, denatured alcohol is not not the best. Oh. I have got 3, and I accumulated them over the years. The one I used to have one drill driver. This is going to drill all the way through. I used to have one drill driver and used to use that for everything. I had a counterbore. I counterbore everything. Here we go. I usually counterbore, like I said, I usually counterbore everything, and I drill everything because yellow pard's real susceptible to splitting. So I was using these deals that you put in and you flip them over and stuff like that, and it was alright. And I needed a hammer drill, so I bought this one. And then I started doing a lot of stuff where I was shooting long screws through, and I figured, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and get an impact wrench, and that's where I'm at. So I end up with a drill driver, a hammer drill, and an impact wrench. And I'm not going to leave them sit there. I paid too much money for that. So I put them into service. And I got them doing all kinds of stuff. Come on. Okay. So now we got center, we got holes drilled, we got our piece. Right here, you will see is a complete shelving situation. You got your slide, your guide, and your kicker. No, I haven't. I worked with Microwave for a while. They were using microwave transmissions in downtown Chicago to communicate data stuff. Thanks, Pete. Does that soften the stuff up, or does that just dry it out? Uh-oh. 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 Okay. Yeah, from cooking it, I may have to go a different route here, guys. So, when all else fails, glue and nails. I got sunshine on a cloudy day. I think this glue survives through winter. This glue survives through winter, so it's a little thick. I stuck my gun. Having a gun doesn't do no good if you can't grab it. Alright, well, this doesn't have to be exact, but I sure do like the eyeballs as straight as I could. There we go. One. Oops. Alright, right there. There it is. Well, I hope that's the right size, huh? Because it ain't going nowhere now. Yeah, you're lucky. Oh, you weren't here when Jan told the story about that. When I was doing YouTube, I started doing YouTube videos. And anytime that I was in here, I'd be working and everything like that, it'd be quiet. But the minute that I turned the YouTube video on and started talking, the dogs would be barking. So the first, I don't know, 8 or 10 videos before this, or the first 8 or 10 videos that I was doing, the dogs were barking all the time. Well, 4 years. Yeah, I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to sit down and tell a story. 4 years, I was working for Xerox and stuff like that. I used to call my workshop Up It Labs, which is a takeoff on Jim Henson's thing. And how that kind of stuck was that cool. Back then, I was kind of like a product quality control guy. We were field technicians, engineers, but we were out in the field, and they would take a printer or something like that, and they take a bunch of them, and they put them in a customer site, no numbers or nothing on them, and then run them as a test. During that time frame, the team that I was on in Chicago, we would repair them and report back to the engineers, either in New York, and they had engineers up in England, and we dealt with some in Japan too, a couple of times. But most of the time, we dealt with these guys in England. And so anyway, we were having a problem with this one gear that they made out of plastic. It kept shattering. So I went home one day, and I had, in Chicago, you run across all kinds of stuff from people in that. And I came across some stuff. It was a plastic. It was more like Bakelite. It had a number on it. And I cut a gear out by hand and put it in a machine, and it ran great. We didn't have any problems. So we made, on a Saturday, the boss turned around, paid me overtime. I made about 30, 40 of those gears by hand. And I we put them on these machines, and every one of those machines, the reliability just went through the roof, because that was the only thing that was going wrong on them. So I'll see you later, Iggy. Have a good day. Okay. I'll talk to you later, Iggy. Have a good day. So I turn around, and this guy, the engineer from New York, from England, he comes in from England, and he's asking about the gear. Yeah, and I tell him, I said, they asked, well, where'd you guys get this from? And we said, we got it from Up It Labs. Because that was my workshop. That's what we called it. All the guys called it that. About 3 days go along. My boss calls me into the office, and this engineer, oh, he's ticked. Oh, he is mad. Yeah, he turns around, and he comes back, and he says, I have looked all over the city of Chicago for 3 days, and I cannot find Up It Labs. He says, where the heck is this? You got a phone number for these people? I said, well, that's my garage in my backyard. Well, that was kind of like putting the fuse under this guy's behind. It just shot him off. My boss was laughing like heck. Well, I pulled out of my briefcase. I said, this is the material that we're using. It's got the reference numbers and the manufacturer, whoever it was. Contact them and you'll have to find somebody to make the gears because we made them by hand. Well, about 3 weeks, maybe 3-4 months later, during this launch thing, we start getting these gears that were the ones that we designed. And on it, it had stamped in it Muppet Labs. Yeah, so it's kind of, he wasn't happy about that. Well, that stuck. So every time that I built something, the guys in England, even on a different machine, they sit there and say, "Where did you get that part from? And you better not tell me Muppet Labs or Up at Labs." So that stuck. And when we started over here, I started with Up at Labs. Well, we decided, after thinking about it, it's like, man, I can't do that. Because like Henson is going to, there are people who are probably not going to appreciate that if I get on Twitch and it gets kind of famous. So that's when we changed it to Two Dogs Barking, because of them barking in the background. Yeah, Up at Labs with the U. It was, the sign was Muppet Labs, and then the M was crossed out, so it'd be like Up at Labs. So it was pretty, we were pretty blatant about it. So that's when we, half the stuff that we built when we were doing that stuff, we would tell them we need a better gear, or we need a better part, or we need a better switch. And they'd hem and haw and hem and haw and hem and haw, and we would turn around and we just either made them ourselves or we would find a local vendor. When we showed that we were more reliable than the nation, and this is on other stuff. No, I got lots of Opsos, lots of Alpos. They're real little dogs. They're pretty. I mean, I'm a big dog guy. I've always owned big dogs till I married Jan, and she had these lots of Opsos, and they're pretty good. This is, we had one that we rescued, and he ended up getting cancer and dying. And then we had, when I married Jan, she had two dogs. One was Xena, who was the runt of the litter, and then Princess. And Xena, I was her boy toy. I mean, she was like 900 million years old, and she just loved me to death. And when we had to put her down, it was pretty traumatic. Princess is probably going to be the same way. She's about, I don't know what Jan said. I don't know how old she is. I figure she's well over 10. And she got some kind of yeast infection or something like that almost killed her about 2-3 years ago. So we had to have emergency surgery for that. And that was really traumatic. And then we won't talk about how traumatic it was after we got the bill. Really? Yeah. Yep. My first wife's dog, which ended up being my baby, her name was Brie, after the cheese. She was a Shepherd Shar-Pei mix. One of the best protection dogs you can have. I tell you what, she listened. She housebroke herself. She just realized that it's better to poop outside. I mean, she was like, no hard. Yeah, she was easy. She was like nothing. And during that time, I was doing a motorcycle thing, and I would ride with a bunch of guys that were cops. And one of the guys that was there was with the Canine Corps, and they were training at that time. They were training dogs as protection dogs for. Oh yeah, those are nice dogs. I like Pits. Pits are good dogs. It's they got a bad name, but it's because of the way people are training them and doing what they're doing with them more so than the actual breed. You know what I mean? But that's the way it was with all of them, shepherds and all that. I'd love to have a big dog. Old Tad, he's our youngest. We've had him about 3, 4 years. He is such a chicken that if I couldn't introduce another dog into this place with him, he'd never leave from underneath the table. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They're all big babies. But then again, my wife would probably say that I'm a big baby too, so I can't say a whole lot. Okay, so we're back. We're back. So okay, so I got that done. And I'm gonna do as much as I can with it upside down because it's easier to work with. So now I've got to put a set of guides in here to keep the back end of that shell from kicking out. This is just for anybody that doesn't know it. And I think if these are long enough, I want to do it. You gotta work? Why? Work? What's that? I'll see you later, Yak. You have fun. It doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't have to fill this in. It just got to be enough so that it'll keep uh, it'll keep it from twisting out. Okay. I will see you later. And so if I took, like I said, I don't need to fill this. I actually need just a piece about that long to keep it from kicking back. So I got a couple short pieces of plywood, but I don't want them to be too far. And if I stuck them like here, so that they come out enough, that would help guide it where it needs to go. I'd actually be better off putting it right there. Really doesn't matter. Here's going to be a front, I think. Yeah, this is going to be a front. I'm not going to put a front face on it. This isn't pretty wood, but yeah, if I was going to make this real nice furniture, you cut back about 3/4 of an inch, and I put a front face on it. Or I can make the panels so that they come out and fit there, and the drawers can be sticking over a little bit. But I'm working functionality here, which is wrong, which is kind of wrong, because I should be doing this so it looks pretty. This is one of those scrap wood projects that I end up having to buy big enough scrap wood to do it. So I got that one. Where's my other one? You know what? How close are these to being the right size? Alright. I don't want it to look that bad. So I think I just cut 2 pieces out of this. I'll actually measure them and cut them. Make it look like I know what I'm doing. That's 15 1/16. 15 1/16. I got sunshine. 15 1/16. Make sure I got that right. This says 15 1/8, but that's on a little bit of an angle. I have sunshine on a cloudy day. I have so many different guides that I can use on this thing. I still haven't made still haven't made my right angle deal sled. I had one for the other saw. And I went through a stint where I was building a whole lot of picture frames. But now, I haven't done it in a while. That's why I haven't built it. If I ever run across them and find out that I have to build some more picture frames, I probably have to build another one. You always have to be blade conscious because you can actually be off. Well, this one here is, what is so many 64ths. A regular size blade is 1/8 of an inch, and then a thin kerf, which is what you're seeing more and more in the big box stores and in a lot of the lower powered saws, is a thin kerf, and I forget what it is. I think it's something 64ths. I want to say it's 7/64ths, but I don't think that's right. Anyway, that's a heck of a distance. If you miss your cut, or you cut on the wrong side of the blade, well, thank you for the follow. I didn't hear the name. Let's go see. Well, thank you, Sphinx. Welcome to our little workshop. Our little noisy workshop. Our little noisy, messy workshop. Okay, so what I'll do is, can you see that? No. Okay. Bring it down a little bit. Oh, I don't have to bring it down. There it is. Let me shift it around. There you go. That's a little better shot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take and I'm going to stick this up in here. Like that. I'm going to nail it in. But you got a little bit of play over here. So I'm going to put a couple pocket holes on either end. So that this way when I put it in, it won't be able to splay outward. And that'll be my guides for each side. So this way when the drawer is sitting in here, it'll run back and forth. I probably could have went all the way across. But I got these little pieces of plywood, so I figured, what the heck, I'll make use of them. And there was a while ago, I did a lot of dowel joinery. And I had all the jig work and stuff to do mortise and tenon. I did a lot of mortise and tenon joinery. And when they first come out with this, I was playing purist. It's like, oh no, you couldn't do that. You got to do mortise and tenon, da 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 da. You know, I get older, and there is a use for this. There is no real reason not to use pocket holes. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of people out there that, oh no, I won't use pocket holes. Oh no, oh no. It makes life real easy on doing a lot of joinery. And there are some situations where that's about the only way you're going to get this thing in. And, when you think about it, shooting a pocket hole is no different than toenailing a nail. And we're toenailing all the time. Is my air compressor off? No, it's on. Okay, good. Oh, I don't need that. I'm in such a habit of making them. I always grab glue and run over the place. Okay, so oh, don't run on me. These colors may not run, but I'll tell you what, that glue does. There we go. Put it in like that, kind of line it up. Line one side up kind of flush. And we're going to give it a Bradley. Yeah, I still got ammo. And oh, sure. Oh, sure. I got my driver on the other side, and it's just far enough away that I won't be able to reach it. There we go. Inch a quarter. I got sunshine in a crowded way. I get paid good money not to sing. Well, isn't my driver? How come it kept going like that? It's supposed to stop. Hello? There it is. Thank you for the follow. Who's following me? Thank you, Farmer Boy. Appreciate it. Let's move this thing over here this way, so this way you can see both sides. Or the second side. But like when I used to watch people doing stuff, and they do one side and then they do the other side. It's like, oh man, we're watching reruns. I got sunshine or something like that in a cloudy day. It looks like it's going to come dumping down out there. Muggy. Oh man, humidity's high. I gotta keep babbling and making noise, otherwise my headphones thinks that we fell asleep or walked away from it or whatever, and it shuts itself off to save energy. Ugh. Which is okay because heck, I talk to myself when I'm in here working on this stuff anyway. All right. Oh, one more. What the heck? Okay. That's one more part done. See a couple of these little pocket holes in there to keep it from flaring out. We're good to go. Okay, so this stand is upside down. And I'll show you how far we got. Explain a few things, and then we'll head on to newer and not so newer things. I got to get off my legs for a little bit anyway. I've been standing too much. Okay, so let's get this shoe on the road. Okay, so this is going to be a stand that's going to hold all my 18-volt tools. Alright, down below that's top. It's actually upside down. On that piece yet, I still have to make, I'm going to make kind of like slides. So this way I can turn my drills upside down and just slide them in. And I have to make it big enough so that it will take into account the battery and everything like that. Because I usually have them ready to be deployed. You know, this way if I'm doing something, I just go ahead and grab them. And I got 3 of them. I want to make space for 4, maybe 5, because I got a little handheld flashlight. But I think it's on its way out the door, so I may just leave that so it sits on the shelf. Now, this is the upside down portion. Okay, we'll ride it up a little bit. This is the upside down portion right here for the drawers. Let me kind of crank this around a little bit. How's that? Is that better? Yeah. Okay. And how a drawer is made, it has 3 pieces. It has three portions. It got the slide, the guide, and a kick plate. The slide, of course, is what the door slides on. The guide, of course, is what keeps it from twisting and going in and out straight. Had to have one on each side. And then the kick plate, I'm just using the bottom of the shelf, of the top shelf. Well, I guess the top shelf of this part, and that's to keep the door from kicking up and out of the way. If I was going to put another set of drawers on here, I would be utilizing these as a kick plate and put my slides up here. But there are some times that if you're using your free opening, I've done them where you have the drawer and you have a space in between, so you have to put a kick plate in there to keep the door from flipping around. The other thing is that under normal circumstances, if I was going to be making this kind of like looking a little bit prettier, I would cut these back about 3/4 of an inch all the way around, and I'd put a face frame in here that would cover all this. And then you would have a piece of wood that ran across here. You put a little stop in it, and as it's drawn out, it keeps it from coming out all the way. Because these drawers are so deep, I want them so that I can pull them out and set them down to look through them. A majority of my drawers are that way. If you keep that consistent and know that, you don't pull them out. If you've got some of them that are set up that you can't pull them out, and other ones that are not are set up so that you can't pull them out, that's when you start having problems, because you lose track of which one's which. Okay, now the top, almost all of my stuff is on wheels, but I've got 2 projects that I want to plant, and I'm trying to get out quick. Well, not quick, but relatively quick. And I only got enough set of wheels for one. And since this one here is pretty much going to be stationary, we decided against putting wheels on it. So as in even fine furniture, although they'd put these pocket holes on the other side, I have a skirt, and then I have the actual feet. And if I find them, I've got some pads to put on here to kind of save the wood from being when it's dragged around on the floor. If not, it'll stay on there. I may actually end up putting something on it. I'm not sure. So the next thing we're going to do, I've got 2 things that I'm going to have to build. We're going to build. And that's going to be the drawers and the slide piece for this. Once I get those set, then we'll be able to flip it over. I'll probably lay it on its back. And I'm going to run a piece of plywood, the width of this, from about here down on the back side, so I have hanging room, on the top underneath there. So I am going to sit down and take a little break. Give my legs a little bit of rest here. And then we're going to come back and I'll work on making the doors. They shouldn't be too bad. Probably a lot of cutting. But I don't have to do much trimming. And since I'm doing this while I'm babbling, I just go ahead and babble. There is a fallacy. Well, or as my opinion is a fallacy, that you have to have a work surface perfectly flat. For some things, yeah. Okay. But for most woodworking and most stuff like that, perfectly flat is not important. Relatively flat is. That's the difference. You could take wood and you could grind it down so that it's perfectly flat. Have it, in a frame and everything else. Expose it to the elements. I mean, just by elements, I mean just inside the shop or whatever. And within a matter of weeks, you go back and hit it, that thing ain't flat no more. Because wood breathes, it moves, it expands, it contracts. The only real way that you can keep something perfectly flat like that is if you kept it compressed somehow. So if you are working on something and you absolutely have to have flat, you're best off to make your table and put a piece of steel on it. Probably about 1/4 inch, something like that. And that will have a tendency to stay flatter for a longer period of time. A little bit harder on sharp and stuff, but you just make sure that if you're doing chisel work and stuff like that, you go and you have an area of your bench that is softer so that it'll catch passive blows and stuff like that. But if you need perfectly flat, even plywood swells. That one over there at my workbench, which is now covered with garbage, it was as close to perfectly flat as you could think of. You'd run a sight bars across it. It was on the nut. Now, it looks more like a water trough. That's just the way it is. Especially in this garage, there's no temperature or humidity control, so it's pretty much under the control of the environment. So when it's real humid outside, everything swells up. It gets dry, it gets real hot and dry, everything shrinks, and eventually it ends up not being straight anymore. I've got doors on a couple of little my rolling cabinets I got. Heck, they look like Pringles, and they were perfectly flat when I started. And man, it don't take long. It don't take long at all. In a house, most houses, they're a little bit more have a consistent environment, and furniture and things like that, wood products, they will hold their own a little bit better. Like here on the shop, I'll end up with twisting and everything else. So a lot of guys, you work that to your advantage. I know guys that have wavy tabletops and this, that, and the other on them, so that because of with the contraction and everything like that, you won't notice a problem. Whereas, like you said, if you got a perfectly flat one, it starts to cup a little bit. Oh man, it sticks out like a sore thumb. A lot of it, of course, has to do with the grain and which way the grain moves and things like that. I mean, there's all kinds of. Wood movement itself can become a fantastically technical deal. So, we're going to do a couple measurements here. See where we're at. Let's go to the overhead, which is looking down over here. And we'll show you what I'm going to do for these drawers. We'll move this one over here because we're going to be doing some cutting. Let me bring this down so you can see it cutting. Maybe I'll bring it down. There we go. So you can see the cuts. I don't have to rip anything, so I don't have to use a rip fence, so that'd be a pretty good view. I'm going to move this bad boy over for a little bit. Now the full length of this drawer is 18 inches, or depth, length. I'll check it just to make sure again. The full length is 18 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut two pieces 18 inches long. Well, I should cut two pieces 18 inches long, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to cut the width, which comes out to, I want to give it a little bit of play. So I'm going to make them about 11 5/8 on this side. This side here better be really close to that too. Yeah, it's 11 5/8. So I'm going to make four pieces 11 5/8 inches long. And how I'm going to do that, I am going to use my guide, I'm sorry. I'm going to take my trusty rusty little block here. And I'm going to put it on my guide so it lines up with the blade. And you know what? I am going to epoxy that doggone hook one of these days. And it's sitting too low, it ain't going to slide. There we go. Is it going to hook? No. Okay, we're going to bring it back. It's going to be 11. That's an inch. Well, my little block is an inch wide. So I'm going to set this to begin with at 11 5/8 is a little bit more than a half. So I'm going to pop it over here to a little bit more than a half. Then I'm going to measure this block, and I'm going to bring that block in. If I can find a tooth that's not chewed up. Oh, that one's in bad shape. 11. And we're going to bring it over to 11 5/8, which would be out just a hair. Let's bring this one back up here, which is right about there. And I'm going to tighten this, and it's going to move. We'll move a hair. Come on. There we go. Alright, so that's 11 5/8. Now I'm going to bring this back over here, and that's my stop. So now I'm going to make 4 of them. (11 5/8 inches long. This has got a square end on it, relatively square. So we just bring that over here like this, butt up against it, turn off the air compressor. There we go. Turn on my excuse me. Turn on my localized dust collection. I don't have central anything in over here. If I was going to put anything central in it, it's going to be central air. And we're going to make us about 4 cuts. Fire in the hole. And I'm going to explain, as soon as I get done cutting here, I'll show you what I did and why. Okay. For safety's sake, I unplug it. For noise sake, I turn it off. And I show you. Alright, as a matter of fact, let's twist the overhead a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Like that. Okay. Under normal circumstances, there are two kinds of cuts. There are a lot of cuts, but there are two basic cuts. This one here, where the length of the board, the long end of the board is going through, is called a rip cut. If you have plywood, you can't really talk about the grain, although for most cuts like this, you're probably cutting along the length of the grain. But if you're using a piece of plywood and you're cutting this, it's still a rip cut when you're cutting it on the long edge. But because the grain is all goofed up and everything like that, you don't think of it as grain-wise. When you're cutting it this way, that's called a cross cut. Any cut where this way here is longer than this way. So what happens is, when you do a rip cut, you put it up against like that and you run it. But when you're running a rip cut, because it's longer, it stays against here and doesn't want to move back and forth. See? Whereas if you go crossways like this, you can move it a lot easier. So when you make this cut, you want to make sure that when you make this cut and it goes through, it's going to go through there like that, the blade's going to want to shoot it. Well, if you have it against here and you pull against it, see, it comes loose. And when it does that, it'll run along here, accelerate, and it'll shoot off. Whereas when you're cutting like this and you have space here, it will cut and kind of just move away. Now, depending on the length of the board and the width, is the amount of gap you need in here. Because if it moves away, if it doesn't have enough gap to move here and can still do this, which actually happens a lot when you're using real small pieces, you still have the idea that it could shoot it back, which is called kickback. And kickback can be pretty harmful. So using this block is a very important safety device, especially when you're doing multiple cuts. One of the things that I do, and a little hint, is you make your block 1 inch wide, so this way you can. And I don't advocate going by this all the time, because the accuracy of that move varies depending on the blade and a bunch of other things, where it's at. Some of the real high-end expensive saws, yeah, you can go by your guide. But what you do is you bring it out into your ballpark, and then you can fine-tune it and get it exactly where you want it. Well, if this is 1 inch, if you're making a 12-inch cut, you can set it over to 13 and then do your measurements, and you're like really close. My next cut needs to be measured, and we're going to do that. This one was 18. Yeah. I have one that I cut 18 that I was using for a spacer. So this one's going to be easy to do. And this is how I do it to ensure that I'm getting my measurements as close to accurate as I can. And it's easier to do this than it is to mismatch. I still have to do 4 of these, so I'm going to end up moving stuff around. But what I'm going to do is these are actually going to fit like that. So if I fit one on each end like that, of course it's going to be too long. So what we'll do is I will go over here and I will kind of make sure that this is flush. And I will put 2 of them next to each other. Hopefully they're pretty flat. Make sure that this is flush to where they're at, like that. And I will make a mark. That mark is about 1.5 inches, because those are 3/4 inch pieces. And that will be shorter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that piece right there and hope that's the right length. I'm going to make a real quick check. It should be real close to 1.5 inches. It is 1.5 inches. So we'll make that cut after I plug it in. Now I need 4 of them the same size. So what I'm going to do with that one, I'm going to measure this one just a little bit different. I could, I could go and I can measure and I can do this, that, and the other. But why? When I got a board that's that length, and I want to duplicate that board, so I'm going to put it so that it's right against there, but not mushed into it. And I bring my piece back. So that's just touching that blade. Actually, I need to come back a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to tighten it down. And now, this should run relatively freely through it, yeah. See? That should be real close. Thank you for the host, Cass in New York. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How are you? Good morning. I think it's morning. Let's see. Yep, that's close enough. Let's try that. And I got to start with a big piece. So we're going to start out with a big piece and a fresh end. The end of this one's... Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you watch this. It'll put you to sleep, I guarantee you. Except for the noise. And yes, I took a pretty big hunk off, but it's all chewed up. So we'll make that. Okay, so I need 3 more of these. So I got 1, 2. I'm going to do something here. See how close my guesstimates are. Look at that. On the money. Yakko doc. Well, that's okay. Go sleep. Go sleep. Nighty night. Take a nap. Heck, I sleep in Iggy's all the time. Especially during the day. I've been having bad nights too recently. It's a sinus. When I lay down, I can't lay down, but when I recline back, the sinus starts draining. It just tears me up. 1, 2, 3. 1 more, make 4. And we'll be just about set. There it is. I got enough for a couple more drawers. And I got places for them. Okay. So now we're going to assemble these noisily. Quite noisily. Let me see. Maybe I can get a little more angle on it. You can see a little better. You do a little arranging. And once I get those done, I make sure that they're square. They're square. Square. We will, then I'll cut the bases for them. Turn my air compressor on. Yeah, so much for sleeping, huh? Really, that's not that loud. I was watching over here. That thing louder than I'll get out. But yeah, it's not that loud over that. I went and downloaded some of my videos, and I was really surprised. I don't need the screws anyway. All right. Now, I should have been fancy and made box joints, but for some reason I'm not that fancy. I am going to use my paintbrush if I can reach it. If not, I'm just going to wing it. It's not really a paintbrush, it's a glue brush. I've got like half a dozen of them. I got so much stuff piled everywhere because I'm trying to get this organized. I'm working real hard at it. It's just I don't have the cabinet space, and I can't use the walls to hang stuff. So I'm building all this stuff as I go along. Oh, I have one of them over here too. I don't know what happened to it. I use one of these just to be neat, or kind of neat. Oh man, is that neat? No. If I'm using a brush, I like to keep it in something, and I use silicone. These are my mix cups. I use those are just silicone. Oh man, cupcake cups, and they work real good. And you just flex them, and everything peels right off. Even epoxy won't stick to it. Those little brushes. Rockler that's a big name that everybody buys them from. They're blue, and those are bench dogs. I like those. I've got a couple basting brushes that were silicone that I found, and they don't seem to work as good. They seem to suck up more glue than they spread. But for big areas and stuff like that, I use them because they work like a paintbrush. And I always like to have a wet rag around. It'd be nice if I had a wet rag that soak up water. I wonder if this has got finish or something on it. Shouldn't have. Alright, that's damp. I keep my sink in a bottle. Okay, so we got glue. We got gluey stuff. I got a nail me. I got my angle of the dangle thingamabob, but I need some clamches. Nothing like clamches. Can't do nothing without clamches. I don't think I need screw-ons. I think I can do okay. With a couple of official Harbor Freight squeeze me's. Okay. Alright, so we're pretty much set up now. Hopefully. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this is end grain. And end grain, as you might know, will absorb. And it actually sucks the glue away from the glue joint. So one of the tricks is to smear some glue on it and just give it a little bit for it to soak it up. Some people leave it so that it dries completely. Wow, this thing's dry as a bone. Oh, there's a wet spot. And yeah, it takes a little bit more time, but it gives you a better glue joint. Huh. I probably should have just went and got a different rag. That makes too much like sense, right? Alright. That's a little bit damper. So there's a lot of theories about using wet rag when you're doing a glue up, because you know this stuff's water based. There are people that think that by doing that you're thinning the glue and you're losing your glue joint, which is a possibility. So now I'm taking it and I'm going to get kind of a nice, somewhat thick, even coat on it. And we're going to stick it in here. And we're going to kind of line it up. And I'm going to use way too big of a clamp, because it wouldn't be me without using a clamp of overkill. And we line it up. And that looks like it's pretty close to square. And we put this one in, like this. And we kind of line it up. And we move it back and forth so we're sure it's lined up. You can see there's a little bit of warpage. It's probably a little bit crooked and other things. So we're going to get it lined up like that. And we're going to put the quickie clamp in. Right there. And we're going to bring this back. Line this back up like that. Maybe. Since I got that lined up like that, kinda. There's a reason why I got long clamps. Oh, it's not long enough. Oh. Okay, well, we're going to bring this kind of close. In the right neighborhood. Like that. Come on. I may have to invest in a big clamp. And we pop it. Let's give it another one for good measure. And that holds it into place. These boards are kind of cupping a little bit, so I put a little bit of that in there like that to get straightened out. Now, I bet you any money. No, I did it right for a chain, didn't I? Yeah. You don't know how many times I turn around and I start doing this and I end up putting the wrong boards in. Or the other problem that happens is I put the wrong boards on the wrong side. That's another thing you got to be concerned about is orientation. Okay, this one here is going to have a little thing in the middle. So okay. So let's go ahead and give this a little bit of glue. Like that. I might have to get a bigger clamp. I might have to clamp these together because they're cupping. I need to compress them a little bit. I got sunshine. Boy, I should have used this other side. This got a pretty little starburst on it. Okay. We'll have to use a big one. Never have enough clamps. You never have enough clamps. Alright. So now we're going to set this one up. That's set enough, I think. Spread the glue out. Are you seeing this, by the way? Yeah, you're seeing it. Okay. Let me set this bad boy right here like that. I'm going to be shooting through a knot. That's going to be fun. You know what? That's cupping that way, so I am going to go this way with the cup. This way when I clamp it down, it'll kind of smash the cupping. Okay, that's the way it goes like that. This goes like this. It's kind of square. Kind of close to where it needs to be. At least on this end. So this is my mile long one? No. It's only my half mile long one. And I'm going to give this a little kiss. Show that up to being right about there's good. And then we're going to take this one. We're going to bring this up. I'm going to line this up again. Sorta. Come on. Get in there. Just like that. And I'm going to smush it. And I'm going to make sure that they're kind of lined up flat. We need a giant persuasion tool. Once again, when you're working with softwoods, that's pretty good actually. When you're working with softwoods, it's always good to have another piece on it. Now it's got a little bit of a cup to it, so I'm going to compress the cup slightly, well, more than slightly. Hi, Spidey. Thank you. And bring this in a little. Bring that in a little bit, and we bring this in a little bit. And we break the back end off. Oh, man. Oh, man. That's... ooh, I got pieces, too. I feel important. Okay, there we go. We've got it back in. They say if you can make a box, you can make anything. If you look at what I'm doing here today, I'm not doing very well at making boxes. Oh. Annoying, I just kind of snap these together and call it a day. I think we better use a longer one and put it right like that. Okay. That sound good to you guys? This does get stronger as it goes along. And I have music. I hear music. Why do I hear music? Well, it's gone now. Now I'm totally lost. Oh, I hear music. Oh, music. Pretty music. You know, I get paid good money not to sing. Big girls. Oh, you know what? Oh, man. I know what that music is. That's not supposed to be that. That was supposed to be a different song, and for some reason the bot didn't do it. That's set up so that it plays something when you come along, like a big fanfare. It was supposed to be like a da-da-da-da kind of thing. And for some reason it keeps wanting to play the big girl song. And I don't want you to take it wrong, because I don't mean anything by it like that. So please don't. It's actually a thing of honor. Honor, honor, honor. I got one. I had one for Iggy too, and I don't know what happened to it. It didn't play. I got all these real long ringtones that got music in them, and I'm not using them. So I figured, hey, you know, that'd be kind of slick. Set up a little sound of honor for people who are people of honor in my chat. Although I probably got a lot more people of honor than I got sound. If you're putting up with chatting with me here in here, you're a person of honor. If you're doing this without snoring, then you're really a person of honor. You are a super person. You're not? Good. Good. Thanks. That's a good song. That's one of my favorite songs. Well, of that era. Okay. That one's done. That side's done. Hopefully I smooshed the heck out of this. I gotta... Boy, these boards are warped bad. I don't want to plane them, because if you plane them down in their center, I don't want thinner. These are going to be warped. Oh, warped. Oh, they're going to be so crooked. Do ya? Cool. So do I. You don't know how many times I saw them in concert. Matter of fact, look at that. I just pulled the top out. Alright. Before we go any farther, let's make sure that this fits. Because I have been known to make drawers that don't fit. I wonder if they should square. Let's see how far off this is out of square. That's a pretty straight cut. But there's a lot of movement. Alright. That's 21 and a half. That's 21. Holy buckets! It's square. Don't move it. Carry it very gently and gingerly. And I dropped it. So much for being square. And too tight. It is too tight. By about a 1/16 of an inch. You guys didn't see that? I cannot believe this. Ugh. It'd have been fitting perfect. It would have been a piece of molding. All right. I know how much I need to shorten it down. I just need to get all the nails out of it before I start cutting. I cannot believe that. Oh, man. Oh! Oh, wait a minute. Let me get to where you can see it. Oh! Big girl. Oh, sure. Now I got one that doesn't want to come out. Don't cry. I think this is pretty close to full if it falls over and busts open. Alright. I'll find me another sharps container. Maybe a bigger one. A bigger one. Hey, honey roasted peanuts. That'll work. Okay, so now I'm on recovery mode. That. I had a pair of pliers here. Well, they may still be in the house. I think I took them in with me when I was working at a kiosk in the house. Oh. Oh. Oh no, here they are. Hello. And my Springable. It was tight. Man, I tell you what. That thing was fitting really good. I just measured way too well this time. I may have to break down and get the hammer and nail set. Shoo-ba-doo. 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 Normally, in between, yeah, that'll work. Like, before I start on something, each day, I have to go around, put stuff back in order, you know, this, that, and the other, you know, usual kind of stuff. And I did it today. I just went and came in, cranked the computer on, and took off. Oh, what the heck's happening here? It ain't coming out. That moved it about a gazillion meter. I think it's bending. You know what? I think I cut that without that affecting it. I used to could be able to hammer a nail straight. Not anymore, it seemed like. Oh, I tell you. That's not moving. See if I pull this out through the back way. That's the way you pull finishing nails. Normally. I'm going to have metal chips. Well, that didn't come out either. Okay. We'll have to make sure that when we hit that with the sawyer, we don't cut that side. Next. They say that the sign of a craftsman is being able to fix their mistakes. You know what? I must be a fantastic craftsman because I make so many mistakes that I have to fix during the course of a project. Well, that one's pretty good. Well, I'll be doggone. Grunt. Okay, there we go. I bet that sounded good in that microphone. Big girl. Are you seeing this? Barely. How about if I go this way? You see it better if I go this way? Doesn't do much good to be doing something if you can't see what the heck I'm doing. There we go. Of course I'm silly. And you know what? I'm just as bad off stream. Why do you think Jan is always smiling? Because, like, look at this crazy idiot. So anyway, this is so close. It is so close. It's like a saw blade's difference. Which is what I'm going to do. I am going to cut. I'm going to cheat, though, this time around. I did not invent this. This is like the slickest little tool. And what it is, all it is a spring with some metal on it. It works real good for little nails. I mean, I'm not going to be using this thing to be popping framing nails. But look at that. All right. Okay, so now let's go glue up my saw blade. Okay. It's these two. The other two are probably that way too, but I'll play with these first and then I'll figure out what the heck I need to do. So, it is so close, but yet so far. I bet you I will set that the width of a saw blade. And you can't see this. I don't know, can you? Yeah. Look at this. It fits. Perfect. Oh no, a little tight yet. Oh, a little tight. Okay. It's not top to bottom tight. Okay, it's a shade tight yet. So let's give it. We'll give it 2 cuts, no waiting. And 2 cuts is probably going to be sloppy. See, but if I cut it the width of a saw blade every time until I get the right fit. Okay, there we go. See? Looky. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. It moves like it's supposed to now. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. So, okay, here we go.